Detective Max Stern.
Hold it, cowboy.
He's the toughest cop on the force.
Come on, go through it!
He thought he'd seen it all.
Poor baby, you having a bad day?
No, I'm having a terrible day. Say something nice to me, will you, please?
You have very strong-looking thighs for a white man.
I like that, yeah.
But nothing could prepare him for his new partner's personality problem.
Will your cat always be coming on assignments with us? Oh, just very special ones.
A multiple personality problem.
I'll fight you with my eyes closed.
Are you guys really cops? I'm a cop. I don't know what the hell he is.
You feel lucky, punk.
I'm annoying you, aren't I?
That's a teensy little bit, really.
Now, he's got a murder spree on his hands.
Bad guys!
Walk speed.
Oh, no, not warp speed!
Hired killers on his tail.
They might surrender, but I wouldn't count on it.
And his new partner at his side.
Did you ever stop to think that maybe you're not ideally suited for police work?
Gene Hackman.
If you change, make it into Rambo.
You, Dan Aykroyd.
I just can't deal with the violence.
Now you tell me!
Loose cannons.
There's something wrong with that dude.
Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around it is a review of the 1990 comedy action buddy cop movie, Loose Cannons. Now, Loose Cannons is a film that apparently was held back from release for 2 years, according to one of the sources I'm looking at, because it completed photography in 1988, but didn't get a release until 2 years later in 1990. It completely tanked in the box office and only made $5 million on a $15 million budget. Critics absolutely roasted this film. They did not like it. And it actually wound up on a lot of critics' worst of 1990 lists. And I gotta be honest, the last time I saw this, before the most recent time for this review, I didn't like it either. I thought the film was lame, I thought it was not funny, and I thought it was wildly uneven. So I was right along with those critics. But I was in a mood to watch buddy cop comedy action films because I've been doing a little bit of a marathon of those, and I like Gene Hackman and I like Dan Aykroyd. This seemed like a more unique film for either of their filmographies, and Bob Clark is also a very capable director, so I wanted to see whether or not it was as bad as I remember it being. And I gotta be honest, I gotta say no. I actually liked this movie. I thought it was fun. Is it one of my favorites? No. Is it a consistently funny or consistently thrilling movie? No. Is it one of the worst films of 1990? Hell no. Is it one of the worst films that Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd have done? No. I really do feel that this is one of those films that has a lot more going for it than a lot of people give it credit. For one, it's unique. There's only one buddy cop film that deals with a tough, no-nonsense cop, and his partner is a guy with multiple personality disorder. I mean, that's the kind of concept that only somebody would come up with high on cocaine in the 80s, and I love it. And it allows Dan Aykroyd to really be over the top and silly and have a lot of fun with the role instead of playing these really serious, or let's just say scientific kind of stuff, because he was a little typecast after he did Ghostbusters, and so he was cast as playing a lot of these nerdy guys. So it was nice to see him play this character who is completely off the wall. Sometimes the performance doesn't work. Sometimes it's too much. of Dan Aykroyd being over the top. But other times, I actually got a few laughs from Dan Aykroyd, mainly because he was just so committed to the role. And Gene Hackman was hilarious in this. His back and forth with Dan Aykroyd was a blast. I really felt that they had some really good chemistry. There were critics at the time that said that they had zero chemistry, and you could tell that Gene Hackman doesn't want to be there. And I didn't really see it that way at all. And then on top of that, you also have Dom DeLuise, who's a part of this cast. So you get to see Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd work alongside Dom DeLuise. So it was really a true treat to see those three work with one another. And I honestly felt Bob Clark, he did a really good job directing the film. Especially when it comes to the action sequences. He really showed that he had some talent for that. I mean, this film is gonzo crazy with a lot of its action set pieces. I mean, there's an action set piece that is a car chase that turns into a duel with a bazooka and a blunderbuss. Yes. They're bad guys who are in this car, and Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd are chasing after them. And one of the bad guys pops out of the top of the car like a jack-in-the-box with a bazooka. And Gene Hackman grabs an old blunderbuss and uses it to stop the car and stop the bad guys before they're able to launch another missile and kill our heroes. And I just thought that was a really crazy gonzo action sequence. And there's a fair amount of them. And there's other crazy gonzo stuff too in this. The opening of the film is something straight out of a horror film. It takes place at night. It's got this red light everywhere. And there are these bad guys who are trying to go after Dom DeLuise. And it's actually really violent and dark. There's a severed head on the end of a fishing pole. It's pretty nuts. And the craziness doesn't stop there, because the main thing that Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd are trying to find, along with the help of the Israeli secret agent service, yeah, it also has that going on too, is a Nazi war film. They're trying to find this Nazi war film because it implicates the current candidate, the frontrunner for the German chancellorship, I believe. And Gene Hackman, Dan Aykroyd, and the Israeli Secret Service are trying to get this film before the chancellor's men do, because otherwise it's going to be destroyed, and this guy is going to become Chancellor of Germany, and he was one of Hitler's right-hand men. He was actually there for Hitler's suicide. He's the one that pulled the trigger. So I thought that was really unique and really, honestly, pretty cool in terms of a MacGuffin for a film. They normally don't see that very often. So yeah, I felt the screenplay by Richard Christian Matheson and Bob Clark, I thought it was actually a pretty solid script. I've definitely seen a lot worse screenplays, and I felt that the plot was intriguing with the Nazi war film, and the Israeli Secret Service thing did not really detract from the film that much. It just added an extra scope to it. There's some nice character building moments for Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd. I like the fact that Gene Hackman's character, Detective MacArthur Stern, he lives inside of his car. That was a different sort of touch that you don't see very often. And I like that he was driving around an old Woody. And Dan Aykroyd, you really feel for this guy. The script did a really good job making you sympathize for his character, Ellis Fielding. He's doing all these goofy things when he's having his multiple personalities, like he thinks he's the Roadrunner, or he's impersonating different members of the crew of the Enterprise, or he's uh, doing impressions of various different kind of pop culture characters. But there's a really tragic backstory behind why he's acting like this. He was a undercover agent for the DEA, and he went undercover and he got kidnapped and he was tortured mercilessly by these drug dealers. And as a result, he had a mental break after he was released, and that's why he's having all these multiple personality breakouts. So that's a level of care that I don't think this film gets enough credit for when it comes to its characterization. And there's also really nice moments between Mac and Ellis where they're hiding out, they're trying to avoid the bad guys, so they are hiding out in the woods for the night. And they have this really nice heart-to-heart moment where they bond and howl at the moon. And I thought it was a really sweet scene. And then there's a fair amount of those. I also like the fact that there really wasn't a love interest either. It seemed like they might have went that direction with the Israeli secret agent played by Nancy Travis, but they never actually went that particular way, and I'm really glad. I think that actually served the film well. And yeah, other than Gene Hackman, Dan Aykroyd, Dom DeLuise, you also have Ronny Cox, who plays another asshole. He plays an FBI agent who's hot on the trail of Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd. You also have Robert Prosky, who plays Kirk von Metz, the main villain. David Alan Grier is also in this as what is insinuated to be Mac's partner. And he shows up for like one scene in the beginning, and he's hilarious, and he has really good chemistry with Gene Hackman, but then he's never seen or heard from again, which was really disappointing. Dan Aykroyd did a good job playing Ellis for the most part, but it would have been interesting to see what David Alan Grier could have brought to the role of Ellis. But they went in a different direction, and that was fine enough. And the score by Paul Zaza, it's not really the best. It's okay, but it's nothing special. It's a lot more tolerable than the atrocious song at the end credits. If you want to talk about something that's awful, that is really bad and worthy of disdain, the song at the end credits, that also featured vocals by Katie Sagal. Yes, Katie Sagal from Married with Children and Futurama. God, that song is just, it is an absolute headache inducer. It is such a awful, atrocious track. But there are things about the film that are also worth mentioning, like the cinematography by Reginald Morris. I really liked a lot of the shots in this film, especially the ones that take place within nature or on the train, or when they take things outside of Washington, D.C. And even when they're shooting in Washington, D.C., I thought it was well shot. And there's a shot near the end which I thought was really quite impressive. Really good effort and job well done by Bob Clark and Reginald, who teamed up and really delivered a really cool looking shot, which featured the bad guy. I think it was actually the right hand man of the main villain. I think it's played by Paul Koslo. I believe that's who it is. Maybe. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Could be Jan Triska. But anyway, so the right-hand man of the main bad guy, this is all taking place in I think it's a train station. And it's a really cool idea of having a shootout or a little bit of a scuffle take place behind one of the displays that you would see on the ceiling, or not necessarily the ceiling, but, up high in a train station. So behind one of the stained glass pieces of art. And that's where this battle is taking place. And there's a really cool shot that features a lot of really unique POVs, and that's where I really felt the director and the cinematographer really shined in that sequence. And so did the editor. I thought it was a really fine film when it comes to the editing by Stan Cole. And there's a lot of moments with the film's frenetic pacing and craziness where the editing really shines. But yeah, it's one of those films that it's not great, but it's nowhere near as bad as its reputation. It goes by at a decent enough pace. It's got an interesting enough plot. The two leads, they work well with one another. And I gotta disagree with Dan Aykroyd when it comes to his response to the notorious bit of trivia where this film was almost mistaken for a snuff film. And the story behind that is as follows. There was an employee in May of 2013 at the Calgary, Alberta landfill, and he discovered some film negatives in mounds of trash. He found images of a man kneeling over a gruesome murder victim. Thinking that it was evidence of a crime, he turned it in to the police. They did this investigation. They almost thought it was actually a snuff film until they did some further digging and discovered that it was a print of loose cannons. And Dan Aykroyd jokingly told TMZ once he heard about the news that the movie should have been left in the landfill where it belongs. And I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's a trash film. I've seen much, much worse movies than Loose Cannons. It is a little uneven. I do have to admit, some of the humor doesn't work. There are moments where the tone is all over the place. It's just firing wildly. And some of the lines are kind of eh. I mean, they try to turn Humpty Dumpty into a badass one-liner, where Dan Aykroyd his character is trying to have the last word before he shoots one of the villains. Humpty Dumpty is back on the wall. You're like, oh, okay, all right. But yeah, it's just such a weird pairing, a weird concept of a buddy cop film with a guy with multiple personality disorder. It does sound like something you would hear as a parody on the TV show The Critic. Like one of those fake movies that Jay Sherman is reviewing. But if you turn your brain off, you understand what you're getting into from the beginning. I think there's a good amount of entertainment that can be had from Loose Cannons. And I actually would like to see a Blu-ray. I'd like to see Kino Lorber do a Blu-ray of this. They're releasing all kinds of stuff. This is something that's right up their alley. I mean, they are going to release a Blu-ray of $1 Million Mystery. How many people watching have heard of that movie? If you've heard of that film, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know. Because there's not that many people who are very familiar with that movie. And that film was a bomb too. So this isn't anything that I can discount or say that it's completely out of their realm when it comes to the kind of films that they would release. But if you are a fan of the movie, one of the few fans out there, this older DVD from Sony is actually pretty good. It has a pretty decent transfer on it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts and my review of Loose Cannons. Thank you for watching my review, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.